Deuteronomy Part 2. Warnings against idolatry. Take care that you not be ensnared to follow them after they have been destroyed before you, and that you do not inquire about their gods, saying, how do these nations serve their gods, that I also may do the same? You shall not worship the Lord your God in that way. For every abominable thing that the Lord hates, that they have done for their gods, for they have even burned their sons and daughters in the fire to their gods. If any prophet, dreamer of dreams, or family member tried to get you to worship falsely, they shall be stoned. You shall, but you shall kill him. You shall stone him to death with stones. Clean and unclean food. You shall not eat any abomination. These are the animals that you may eat. Of all that are in the waters you may eat of these. You may eat all clean birds, but these are the ones that you shall not eat. And all winged insects are unclean for you, but they shall not be eaten. All clean winged things you may eat. You shall not eat anything that has died naturally. You shall not boil a young goat in its mother's milk. Tithes. You shall tithe all the yield of your seed that comes from the field year by year, and before the Lord your God, in the place that he will choose, to make his name dwell there. You shall eat the tithe of your grain, of your wine, and of your oil, and of your firstborn of your herd and flock, that you may learn to fear the Lord your God always. Sabbatical year. At the end of 7 years you shall grant a release, and this is the manner of the release. Every creditor shall release what he has lent to his neighbor. He shall not exact it of his neighbor, his brother, because the Lord's release has been proclaimed. Of a foreigner you may exact it, but there will be no poor among you, for there will never cease to be poor in the land. Therefore I command you, you shall open wide your hand to your brother, to the needy, and to the poor in your land. Hebrews sold as slaves after 6 years had options to stay or leave. Passover. Rules on how to celebrate the Passover. Feast of Weeks. Rules on how to celebrate the Feast of Weeks. The Feast of Booths. Rules on how to celebrate the Feast of Booths. Justice. You shall appoint judges and officers in all your towns. They shall judge the people with righteous judgment. You shall not pervert justice. You shall not show partiality, and you shall not accept a bribe, for a bribe blinds the eyes of the wise, and subverts the cause of the righteous. Forbidden forms of worship. Rules for forbidden worship. Legal decisions by priests and judges. Any case within your towns that is too difficult for you, then you shall arise and go up to the place that the Lord your God will choose. And you shall come to the Levitical priests and to the judge who is in office in those days, and you shall consult them, and they shall declare to you the decision. Laws concerning Israel's kings. You may indeed set a king over you, whom the Lord your God will choose. One from among your brothers you shall set as king over you. You may not put a foreigner over you, who is not your brother. Only he must not acquire many horses for himself or cause the people to return to Egypt. And he shall not acquire many wives for himself, lest his heart turn away. Nor shall he acquire for himself excessive silver and gold. When he sits on the throne of his kingdom, he shall write for himself in a book a copy of this, approved by the Levitical priests. Provision for priests and Levites. The Levitical priests, all the tribe of Levi, shall have no portion or inheritance with Israel. They shall eat the Lord's food offerings as their inheritance. They shall have no inheritance among their brothers. The Lord is their inheritance, as he promised them. Abominable practices. There shall not be found among you anyone who burns his sons or his daughters as an offering. Anyone who practices divination or tells fortunes or interprets omens, or a sorcerer, or a charmer, or a medium, or a necromancer, or one who inquires of the dead. For whoever does these things is an abomination to the Lord, and because of these abominations the Lord your God is driving them out from before you. A new prophet like Moses. The Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet like me from among you, from your brothers. It is to him you shall listen. And whoever will not listen to my words that he shall speak in my name, I myself will require it of him. When a prophet speaks in the name of the Lord, if the word does not come to pass or come true, that is a word that the Lord has not spoken. Laws concerning cities of refuge. Rules on cities of refuge. Property boundaries. You shall not move your neighbor's landmark, which the men of old have set, in the inheritance that you will hold in the land that the Lord your God is giving you to possess. Laws concerning witnesses. Only on the evidence of 2 witnesses or of 3 witnesses shall a charge be established. Laws concerning warfare. Rules on going out to war. Atonement for unsolved murders. And it is not known who killed him. And the elders of the city that is nearest to the slain man shall take a heifer that has never been worked and that has not pulled in a yoke. And all the elders of that city nearest to the slain man shall wash their hands over the heifer whose neck was broken in the valley. And they shall testify, our hands did not shed this blood, nor did our eyes see it shed. Marrying female captives. When you go out to war against your enemies, and the Lord your God gives them into your hand, and you take them captive, and you see among the captives a beautiful woman, and you desire to take her to be your wife, and you bring her to your house, she shall shave her head and pare her nails, and she shall take off the clothes in which she was captured, and shall remain in your house and lament her father and her mother a full month. After that you may go into her and be her husband, and she shall be your wife. But if you no longer delight in her, you shall let her go where she wants, but you shall not sell her for money, nor shall you treat her as a slave, since you have humiliated her. Inheritance rights of the firstborn. If a man has 2 wives, the one loved and the other unloved, and both the loved and the unloved have borne him children, and if the firstborn son belongs to the unloved, but he shall acknowledge the firstborn, the son of the unloved, by giving him a double portion of all that he has, for he is the firstfruits of his strength. The right of the firstborn is his. A rebellious son. If a man has a stubborn and rebellious son who will not obey the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and though they discipline him, will not listen to them, then his father and his mother shall take hold of him and bring him out to the elders. Then all the men of the city shall stone him. A man hanged on a tree is cursed. And if a man has committed a crime punishable by death, then he is to be put to death, and you hang him on a tree. His body shall not remain all night on the tree, but you shall bury him the same day, for a hanged man is cursed by God. Various laws. Okay, that's but various laws. Laws concerning sexual immorality. Rules about sexual immorality. Those excluded from the assembly. Rules of restrictions to who has allowed to enter the assembly of the Lord. Uncleanliness in the camp. When you are encamped against your enemies, then you shall keep yourself from every evil thing. If any man among you becomes unclean because of a nocturnal emission, then he shall go outside the camp. He shall not come inside the camp, but when evening comes, he shall bathe himself in water, and as the sun sets, he may come inside the camp. You shall have a place outside the camp, and you shall go out to it. And you shall have a trowel with your tools. And when you sit down outside, you shall dig a hole with it and turn back and cover up your excrement. Because the Lord your God walks in the midst of your camp to deliver you and to give you up your enemies before you. Therefore the camp must be holy, so that he may not see anything indecent among you and turn away from you. Miscellaneous laws. Rules about miscellaneous laws. Laws concerning divorce. and the later man hates her, and writes her a certificate of divorce and puts it in her hands, and sends her out of his house, or if the later man dies, who took her to be his wife, then her former husband, who sent her away, may not take her again to be his wife after she has been defiled, for that is an abomination before the Lord.